In the boundless expanse where heavens clash and destinies are forged, the path of cultivation grows ever more perilous. Ling Han, bearing the weight of both fate and defiance, stands at the crossroads of power and peril, where a single misstep could shatter all he has built. In the previous turn of events, hidden forces stirred beneath the surface, their intentions veiled like mist upon a midnight lake. Allies and enemies alike revealed fragments of their true selves, yet the deeper schemes remain cloaked in shadow. The tension tightens, like a drawn bowstring waiting for the moment to release. Now, as we enter Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao Chapter 1397-1398, the storm draws nearer. Secrets long buried threaten to rise, and the delicate balance between strength and survival begins to fracture. Will Ling Han seize the opportunity to ascend further? Or will unseen hands drag him into a web from which there is no escape? The winds of fate are stirring once more, and the legend continues. In the boundless heavens above Joint Peace Planet, swordlight surged like a raging storm. Leong stood amidst the sky, his blade dancing as countless streaks of sword chi filled the firmament. Each arc of light roared like thunder, spreading across the horizon as though the heavens themselves were being torn apart. And yet, against this overwhelming storm, Ling Han responded with only a single flash, a lone streak of swordlight. It seemed fragile, insignificant, almost laughable when compared to the overwhelming brilliance that Leong had unleashed. But in that fleeting instant, the air shifted. That single sword flash carried the bearing of a sovereign, like a king standing above all blades. It radiated an invincible will, as if declaring to the heavens, "Before me, all swords must bow." A moment later, pooh! The sky trembled as Ling Han's strike swept forward. The countless sword lights that had filled the heavens shattered and vanished as though erased by divine will. Even the brilliance of the skies dimmed under its passing. Leong's eyes widened in disbelief. Previously, when Ling Han had neutralized his attack, he had not taken it too seriously. That earlier move had only been casual, after all. But this time he had used a true killing technique, and still, it had been broken, effortlessly. How can he be this strong? Leong's thoughts roared like a storm within him. He drew in a sharp breath, no longer daring to hold back. Above his head, a vast and ancient totem materialized, the symbol of the eternity sky, majestic empire. The power of the nation descended. Wang, the totem opened its eyes. Those eyes were not lifeless. They gazed down upon Ling Han with a terrifying authority, as though the heavens themselves were passing judgment. The mere pressure of that gaze seemed capable of suppressing all existence. Ling Han's expression remained cold. He understood clearly this was no mere illusion. Response format plain text with no additions and no commentary, no introduction text, no footer text, no markdown format. In the vast, silent expanse where gods have fallen and mortals dare to rise, the winds of destiny stir once more. The echoes of ancient battles, Hanua's linger, and beneath the heavens, unseen hands continue to weave fate with threads of blood and ambition. In the previous chapter, alliances trembled on the brink of collapse, and hidden powers began to reveal their fangs. Our protagonist stands at the crossroads of peril and enlightenment, where a single misstep could plunge all realms into chaos. Enemies lurk not only in the shadows, but within schemes too intricate to unravel at a glance. Now, as we enter Recap Tales of Herding Gods, Chapter 649, Chapter 650, the tension thickens like a gathering storm. Secrets long buried threaten to surface, and the line between God and mortal grows ever more fragile. What choices will shape the path ahead? And who will emerge unscathed when the dust finally settles? Let the tale unfold. How should one treat a celestial palace? Jinmu tended to First Ancestor's corporeal form, and 2 full days were spent mending his divine treasures. The spirit herbs he lacked were immediately planted. Though First Ancestor's body had healed, his visage grew more pallid with each passing day, and he frequently sank into a coma. The injuries to his primordial spirit and celestial palace were profound beyond Chinmu's skill. Apothecary had imparted knowledge of treating the strong, from the divine bridge realm to those yet to reach the southern heavenly gate, yet the celestial palace of a god remained an uncharted domain. The silver needle could no longer reach the celestial palace, and guiding medicinal energy was a dilemma. Steam and baths could not penetrate. and spirit pills or miraculous medicines could not channel their essence to the celestial palace. First Ancestor's primordial spirit no longer dwelled within the spirit embryo divine treasure, but had retreated into the celestial palace. Judging roughly, his cultivation likely reached God execution stage, or even Jade Capital. To discern his exact strength, Qin Mu would need to enter the celestial palace itself. The human emperor's condition was dire. He could no longer release his primordial spirit for treatment. Entry into the celestial palace was the only option. I can still transform into a shadow to enter his divine treasures and push medicinal energy, but Southern Heavenly Gate is beyond my reach. Qin Mu paced around First Ancestor, calculating carefully. Southern Heavenly Gate was a crucial passage, a crucible for a god to become a true god. Only a primordial spirit with the power of a true god could pass. Regardless of the intricacies within the great educational Heavenly Devil scriptures, the cultivation realm remained an unyielding principle. Qin Mu's own realm fell far short. First Ancestor lapsed into unconscious murmurs once more. I've sinned. I won't escape anymore. I've come here to redeem myself. I'm sorry. Qin Mu's brow knitted. Such unconsciousness signaled the beginning of the primordial spirit's disintegration. Delay would be fatal. Medicinal energy had to reach the celestial palace at once. I cannot pass Southern Heavenly Gate, but there is something that can. He refined numerous pills for treating primordial spirit injuries, storing them in a vast sack. Turning to Ling Yuxu, he said, Sister Shu, I will treat First Ancestor's injuries. Remain here and guard against Qi Shi. Ling Yuxu nodded, clutching the small case. Qin Mu transformed into a shadow, slipping into the heart of First Ancestor's brows, bypassing the spirit embryo, 5 elements, and 6 directions divine treasures. At last he reached the divine bridge divine treasure. Upon the divine bridge, the light shimmered like a rainbow. Beneath, divine treasures interlocked, overlapping in complex patterns. Through the totem, the will of the Eternity Sky Emperor had descended. Within the borders of the Empire, all lands belonged to Imperial authority. Through the totem, the Emperor could observe any corner of his domain, and even strike across distance. The moment Leong drew upon the power of the nation, the Emperor had already sensed it. His divine consciousness descended, and through the totem he laid eyes upon Ling Han. Ling Han stood tall, unmoved. Even before the pressure of a consummate-level heavenly body tier existence, he did not yield. If I cannot defeat him now, Ling Han thought calmly, I can still leave. But his gaze sharpened. Give me time, and even such enemies will fall like chickens and dogs. His eyes flickered with killing intent as he stared at the totem. He had not forgotten. The invasion of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire. The rivers of blood spilled for the sake of the 9 demons' sword. That hatred still burned. Meanwhile, Leong roared as the power of the nation surged into him. His aura exploded upward. A single star's increase in battle prowess meant 10-fold strength. His sword rose once more. With a furious cry, he unleashed another devastating strike. The sword moves the mountains and rivers. The heavens erupted in blinding brilliance. Sword light poured down like a torrential rain, engulfing everything. Even the sun dimmed before its radiance. Across 1/10 of the Empire's territory, cultivators could see that terrifying flash in the sky. There was nowhere to escape, nowhere to hide. And yet, Ling Han merely raised a finger. Lightning surged. The lightning sword technique erupted forth. He did not need countless blades, for he alone was the king of swords. Pang, pang, pang! The rain of sword light collapsed instantly, evaporating under his single strike. And still, Ling Han's sword chi continued forward, unstoppable, unchanged in power. Leong's face drained of all color. What? He hurriedly raised his sword to block, but the moment the attack reached him, boom! He was blasted backwards like a broken arrow, sent flying over 100 miles before barely managing to halt his momentum. At that very moment, Weng, the totem in the sky, stirred once more. A massive hand extended from within, reaching down toward Ling Han with crushing force. The Emperor had made his move. Ling Han let out a cold laugh. Without hesitation, he threw a punch. Eternity Sky Emperor, his voice rang like thunder. If you came in person, you might still be worthy of facing me. His fist surged forward, filled with unmatched confidence. But with only this borrowed power? You think you can suppress me? Dream on. Peng! The giant hand shattered instantly upon impact, exploding into fragments of light. Moments later, the totem itself crumbled, but it was only a projection. The shattered image quickly reformed in the sky. Within it, a face appeared, cold, majestic, dominating the eternity sky. Emperor stared down at Ling Han, his gaze sharp as a blade, as if carving Ling Han's appearance into memory. Silence stretched. Then his voice resounded across the heavens. By Imperial decree, the heaven execution order is placed upon Ling Han. Hong, the declaration spread through the entire empire, carried by the totem. For a heartbeat, silence gripped the land. Then chaos erupted. The heaven execution order. Within the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire, there were 3 levels of execution orders: mortal, earth, and heaven. A mortal execution order mobilized all Mountain River tier cultivators. An earth execution order summoned all Sun Moon tier elites. But a heaven execution order, it commanded even heavenly body tier cultivators to abandon everything and hunt down the target. How many years had it been since such an order was issued? In that instant, Ling Han's name and visage were broadcast throughout the empire. Every heavenly body tier expert felt it. Those in seclusion halted their cultivation immediately. Those traveling changed direction without hesitation. Only the ancient monsters at the consummate level could ignore such a decree. But the rest? Who would dare disobey? In mere moments, over 50 heavenly body tier elites began to move. The full might of the empire had been unleashed. Leong burst into laughter, his confidence returning. "Ha ha ha, Ling Han, even I did not expect His Majesty to issue a heaven execution order for you." His eyes gleamed with malice. "Why don't you run? Crawl back to the chaotic stars' majestic empire with your tail between your legs," he sneered. "But leave that wooden sword behind, otherwise I will hold you here with everything I have until you are surrounded and crushed. No matter how strong you are, your only fate will be death." Ling Han shook his head calmly. "If you try to stop me," he said softly, "you will die." His gaze turned icy. "You are not even qualified to stand in my way." A pause. "I can kill you with a single move." Leong laughed in fury. "A single move? I would like to see how." Before he could finish, a head soared into the air. Leong's expression froze in disbelief as his vision spun. In his fading sight, he saw Ling Han standing there, a divine sword in hand. The blade was spotless. Not a drop of blood stained it. Below, his own headless body began to fall. It truly had been a single move. He had not even seen the strike. Only a terrifying pressure had descended upon him, slowing his reactions. His body had failed to respond. His defenses had become meaningless. Then, a destructive killing intent pierced through him. Darkness consumed everything. Boom! Ling Han stepped down from the sky. At the same moment, Leong's head and body struck the ground. Peng! Even in death, a heavenly body tier cultivator carried immense power. The impact shook the earth like an earthquake. All who witnessed the scene stood frozen. They had seen everything. The clash in the heavens, the Emperor's intervention, the issuing of the heaven execution order, and then Ling Han's single, unstoppable strike. On Joint Peace Planet, heavenly body tier elites were supreme rulers. Their deaths were events that might not occur even once in countless years. And yet, one had just fallen before their eyes, with one sword. A chill spread through the crowd. What kind of monster was this? Below, the 10 tigers of the Wang clan trembled uncontrollably. Their legs weakened. They wished only to faint, to escape the terror that gripped their souls. The wind stirred lightly across the land as Ling Han stood tall and unmoving, like a lone sword planted between heaven and earth. His gaze swept across the gathered crowd, calm yet unyielding, as his voice rang out with quiet authority. "If there is anyone who wishes to take my life," he declared, "step forward. I will remain here for half a day." His words fell like thunder in a clear sky. He had no intention of leaving just yet. 2 companions still lingered in the shadows of fate, the heavenly phoenix Divine Maiden and Ding Ping. Until they returned, he would stand his ground, unmoved by threat or decree. The people of the Eternity Sky Majestic Empire reacted with a mixture of fury and disbelief, their expressions twisted as anger surged through them. An outsider, an enemy, had dared to step into their dominion and behave with such arrogance? Yet among the outrage there were those whose hearts trembled not with rage, but with awe. The Heaven Execution Order had already been proclaimed by the Eternity Sky Emperor. a decree that spelled death for Ling Han. And yet, here he stood, fearless, unshaken. Such courage was not something easily dismissed. Time passed like drifting clouds. When a full day had gone by, two figures returned from the horizon. The heavenly phoenix Divine Maiden descended like a blazing star reborn, her aura surging with the majesty of the heavenly body tier. Beside her, Dingping's presence had deepened, his cultivation rising into the sun-moon tier. Their return brought not only reunion, but strength. Two powerful pillars now stood beside Ling Han. Without hesitation, Ling Han gave a single command, "Let's go." And so, they departed. Not long after their journey began, the heavenly phoenix Divine Maiden and Dingping discovered the truth. Hunters trailed them through the shadows, yet neither fear nor urgency touched their hearts. With two heavenly body tier elites in their ranks and the terrifying might of flying fire pills at their disposal, they walked their path with calm defiance. Their pace remained steady, unhurried. Among them were still those at the mountain river tier, and so their speed could not match that of the heavens. It was only a day later that the first hunter caught up. A lone heavenly body tier cultivator emerged, his aura pressing down like a low-hanging storm. Yet despite arriving first, he did not move. His eyes flickered between Ling Han's group, measuring, calculating. Two heavenly body tier experts stood before him, one even in the medium extreme. Against such strength, how could he dare act? This hesitation saved his life. For had he known that Leong, an elite at the peak of the medium extreme, had fallen to Ling Han in a single strike, he would have felt only gratitude for his caution. Another half-day passed, and the skies grew restless. More heavenly body tier elites descended, their presence thickening the air with killing intent. Among them stood one whose aura towered above the rest, an early-stage high-extreme expert. The moment he appeared, he struck. A colossal demonic palm formed in the heavens, blotting out light as it descended with the might to suppress all creation. But Ling Han did not retreat. His sword flashed. Heaven's will surged through his blade, and within mere exchanges, if the terrifying attacker was cut down, his strength scattered like dust before the storm. Ling Han's gaze shifted, locking onto another heavenly body tier cultivator nearby. For a moment, the world held its breath. Then, Ling Han descended slowly from the sky and chose not to pursue. That single glance was enough. The targeted cultivator felt his soul tremble. That fallen opponent had been a high-extreme expert, stronger than Ling Han by an entire minor tier, bolstered by the power of a nation and a 4-star advantage, and yet he had been slain. Fear gripped his heart. Had Ling Han struck, his fate would have been sealed. Grinding his teeth, he turned and fled. This was no opponent he could challenge. A day later, the storm intensified. Even more elites arrived, and among them stood a terrifying figure, a peak-stage high-extreme expert, a 3-star genius whose power shook the heavens. This time, battle erupted with full force. Ling Han clashed against him, sword against might, their energies colliding like raging tides. Without invoking the forbidden technique known as Tide of the Ages, Ling Han found himself locked in a stalemate. Time dragged on, and more heavenly body tier cultivators joined the fray. 1 became 3. 3 became 7. The battlefield roared with destructive force. Yet Ling Han stood unafraid. His body, forged through countless trials, was like an indestructible fortress. No matter how many enemies gathered, his resolve did not waver. But when their numbers reached 7, he finally chose to end it. A shift rippled through the air. Time itself seemed to bend. The moment Ling Han unleashed the Tide of the Ages, the battlefield fell into chaos. Every attack that came near him withered, aged, and crumbled as though centuries had passed in an instant. It was a power that defied reason. Within a few short exchanges, 3 elites fell, their lives extinguished. The remaining 4 fled in terror, their courage shattered. When news of this battle spread, silence descended upon the eternity sky majestic empire. No one dared pursue Ling Han any further. Unless those at the consummate level of the heavenly body tier stepped forward, who could possibly challenge him? Yet such beings were like dragons among men, their status too lofty even for the Emperor to command. Only through immense bargaining could they be persuaded, and that would take time. And so, unchallenged, Ling Han and his companions crossed the borders of the Empire, stepping into the lands of the chaotic star's majestic empire. Here, the threat of pursuit vanished. To continue the hunt would risk war between two great empires, something no ruler would take lightly. Days passed. At last, they arrived at the Imperial capital. Ling Han's first thought was to meet Empress Luan Xing, yet fate had other plans. The Empress had entered seclusion 2 days prior, withdrawing from the world to focus on her cultivation. Affairs of state now rested in the hands of the left and right ministers, while even the 9 kings had followed her into isolation. To others, it seemed coincidence, but Ling Han understood. This was the calm before a great transformation. The Empress stood at the threshold of the pinnacle of the heavenly body tier. With her 9 doppelgangers returned, once she emerged, her strength would ascend to its peak. Ling Han's thoughts drifted briefly to ancient secrets, the strange parallels between the bloodline techniques of the 9 snake tribe and the 9-life body of Gu Daoyi. Yet Gu Daoyi's methods were far more profound, forging a divine womb from his 9th life to birth a 10th. Even celestial prodigies might struggle to rival such brilliance. Ling Han exhaled softly. In that case, we return to the Great Ling Empire. Before departing, however, they lingered. For many among them, this was their first time in such a place. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden and the others wandered through the city, taking in its sights. Ling Han himself had a task: to deliver the precious highest jade essence heart to Old Man Shu at the Scarlet Heaven Academy. After a day of wandering, they gathered within a restaurant, claiming 2 tables and ordering a feast. Unlike Cloud Apex Planet, where humans and demonic beasts stood united due to the 2-realm battlefield, this land followed a different rule. Here, strength dictated fate. If one had the power to hunt and consume demonic beasts, then so be it. And so dishes crafted from demonic beast meat filled the tables. Hunger sharpened their appetites, and soon laughter and conversation replaced the tension of recent battles. But peace rarely lasted. Knock, knock, knock. The sound echoed at the door. A waiter entered, his expression troubled. He bowed slightly before speaking. "Esteemed guests, would you be willing to move to another location?" Ling Han raised an eyebrow. "Why?" The waiter hesitated before answering. 2 distinguished guests have arrived, but all private rooms are occupied. The shopkeeper hopes you might show some flexibility. In return, one of your tables will be free of charge. Before Ling Han could respond, the old ginseng slammed his hand against the table with a sharp crack. "You think we're outsiders you can bully?" he barked, his voice brimming with fury. "Go! Call your shopkeeper here. Grandpa Ginseng will smash his guts!" Ling Han remained silent, but his silence spoke volumes. Seeing no objection from Ling Han, the old ginseng's confidence surged like a rising tide. The waiter's face darkened, humiliation flickering in his eyes. To be scolded by a mere ginseng, it was beyond absurd. Were it not for Ling Han and the others, he might have already thrown this precious ingredient into a pot. Yet he endured. "I deeply apologize," he said, bowing again. "If one table is not sufficient, we can waive the bill for both. Please consider this our sincerity." He had his orders. The room must be freed. Those arriving guests were not people the restaurant could afford to offend.